Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Thomas, and I'm part of the district's RFK Project Management Office, or RFK PMO. I want to thank you for joining us for tonight's virtual RFK community meeting. But before we get started, we'd like to orient you to a few logistics for tonight's meeting. We would like your feedback on tonight's meeting through the survey link and QR code that is shown on the screen now. Thank you. You may start this survey now or after tonight's meeting. The survey will be open until December 24th, Christmas Eve. Attendees are on mute with the video off to ensure that tonight's meeting runs smoothly. This is an open meeting as required by DC Code 2-578 and is being recorded. This recording will be available at rfk.dc.gov for those who are not able to attend tonight. If you need technical support during tonight's meeting, please call 202-309-3491. And now to provide opening remarks, I'd like to introduce Brian Hanlon, the RFK Project Executive.
Brian, you're on mute.
Brian?
Forgive me all. Apparently I was muted, so I will begin. Thank you, Daryl, for your introduction. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 11th community meeting on the RFK campus redevelopment. I'm Brian Hanlon, Director of the DC Department of Buildings, and I'm honored to serve as project executive for this transformational project. On behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser, I'm delighted to welcome you to tonight's community meeting. As a third-generation native Washingtonian and proud Ward 6 resident, RFK is woven into my own story. I've watched games here as a kid. My dad grew up at 6th and H Northeast, and my mom just 8 blocks down East Capitol Street. This is personal for me, as I know it is for many of you too. We've been building this vision together through 10 community meetings, one each month since February. That's 10 meetings of listening, learning, and shaping this project with you. And I have to say, the energy from our last meeting was incredible. Let's keep that momentum going tonight. In October, we heard your ideas about open space, civic amenities, waterfront character, mobility and parking, stadium and community design, and retail and business opportunities. In November, we explored the planning districts. Tonight, we're talking about the vision for the stadium with Commanders Stadium Architects, HKS, who are here with us. This is not just a sports project. The stadium is less than 10% of the 180-acre campus. The balance will be housing, recreation, entertainment, and waterfront space along the Anacostia River. We've heard from residents in Wards 6, 7, and 8 and across the city. Your ideas and your concerns are all shaping this once-in-a-generation opportunity to create something truly transformative. This is how we build something that reflects who we are and where we're going. As Coach George Allen used to say, the future is now. And tonight, you're helping shape a future. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of this, and let's keep building this together. I'd now like to introduce Mike Dry from HKS, who's going to run through some thoughts on the design process. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Brian. We could not be more excited to be here and be part of this process. It's been a long time, coming, and been very, very excited. I'm going to first turn it over to my partner in our DC office, Shanti Blaine. She's our office director, and she's going to talk to you about our presence in DC.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to start off by saying how excited I am to be here with this team to tell you a little bit about our HKS DC office. While the DC office is celebrating just over 20 plus years in the district, our work with HKS in the firm actually spans 30 plus years in the DMV area, including hospitals like MedStar Georgetown Hospital, hotels that you may be familiar with, the MGM National Harbor, Conrad, Washington, And then also our notable commercial mixed-use projects, the Noma Center and Reston Row out in Reston, Virginia. So we spread across the region. Our HKSDC office is 95 employees now and growing. When I first started with the firm 20 plus years ago, we were only 10, and we've grown so much in the past 20 years. So much so that I'm excited to share that we just recently moved into a new space to accommodate all of our new growth. And we are very excited to host the commanders and the entire design team and everyone who's going to be working on the project, including ourselves, into our new space to be a part of that process. Our employees here in DC stay involved with the local community, industry, and the schools. Universities such as Howard University, George Washington University, and UDC. I want to just really state that as residents and neighbors, friends of Ward 6 and 7, we are invested in the success of this design. We are invested in the process, and we are invested in the outcome of the built environment, and very excited to be here. For months, our entire firm at HKS, but more especially the folks here in DC, not limited to our Commanders fans, have been energized by this opportunity to work on this stadium and are really looking forward to helping shape something meaningful for our city.
The other part, you know, as a partner in the firm and sports practice leader, project manager, and project executive, I've had the pleasure of shaping the NFL for over 30 years. That started back in 2008 with Lucas Oil Stadium. And one of the things you'll see as I scroll through some of the projects that we've delivered is that each one of these is unique to their own environment. We are not a cookie cutter firm in the way that we approach our sports and entertainment projects. Every single one is unique to their own environment. And so that's, you know, something that's very near and dear to us. When we started that at Lucas Oil Stadium, we took a very industrial site, a client who wanted to optimize and maximize, you know, multi-use venues with anything from the NFL to NCAA, you know, and delivered that in a very unique way to Indianapolis. You know, at the same time, we were designing AT&T Stadium, and AT&T Stadium, you know, has a very different brand, very different ownership group, and so the manifestation of that stadium is very different. It's very unique to the Dallas market and to the international brand of the Cowboys. You know, it really had to rethink what standing room only and what a premium opportunity was, and it delivered, you know, architecture on an international level. Then we moved to US Bank Stadium in Minnesota, and you know, when we opened this in 2016, you know, it really leveraged you know, the Nordic nature of the people from Minnesota, and so it's a very different architecture again. And you know, one of the things we're most proud of, I mean, this was on the east end of that city, and so not only did it bring a lot of natural light into that venue, so that it could, you know, feel very airy and very light throughout the year, particularly when there's these heavy snows during the season. But we also created a plaza for the entire community. And so, you know, this is not just something that's there for the stadium. It's a space that that lives with that stadium or with that city all year round, reinvigorated the east end of the city. And then, you know, most recently, 2019, we opened SoFi Stadium. Again, you know, a very different manifestation of architecture. In a market, you know, where we, you know, really reinvigorated Inglewood and Hollywood Park with an open air stadium that really could only be in Los Angeles. You know, you'll never see another experience like that. And so each one of those 4 venues that are, you know, that have been constructed are very, very different, and they're very unique and near and dear to their communities. And then currently we have the opportunity to work with the Cleveland Browns and really rethink, you know, what it means to bring the Muni lot and the Dog Pound, you know, from Cleveland out to Brook Park, working very closely with the Browns, and we're looking forward to having that same kind of focus with you all in DC. Matt?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Bell from Perkins Eastman. I have seen a lot of you at the community meetings we've had. We've had the good fortune to have some robust discussions with the community in October and in November. We got some really terrific feedback. These meetings were very well attended, and we certainly got a lot of good direction, a lot of good feedback on what are the concerns of the people in the city and people living in and around the stadium. So I thought what we would do tonight is just review some of the major points of that feedback and have a couple of slides to illustrate that. We heard people talk about culture. As Mike said, the stadium should be deeply rooted in DC culture, and it should include historical elements. People thought that it ought to be multi-use, not just event centered, but also community events, and be a 365 day anchor, something that would be a part of the community 365 days a year, not just something that only is there for use when there's a large event. An interest in activating the waterfront, different than the wharf, but certainly something that would bring active nightlife and active community activities. There's park space there, but what other things could happen on the waterfront? So great interest in multi uses. There was feedback as well on the program, the tickets being affordable. Some very specific things for some of the H Street college bands, and maybe some locker rooms for them. Standing room and social spaces inside the stadium, places where people can stand, not just as well as sit. And also reusable cups and food containers, a great interest in sustainability and making sure that what we provide in the stadium in terms of venues for food is as sustainable as it could possibly be. And also, there were people who made some very interesting distinctions about different public buildings that have happened in DC in recent years, libraries being especially favored, and thought that those were done well relative to the way they integrate with the community. A lot of feedback on local and small businesses, prioritizing opportunities for local businesses in Wards 6 and 7, and trying to integrate those local and small businesses into the stadium so they're part of the big project as well, and emphasize authentic, tailored retail experiences throughout. There's concern, of course, about the height of the stadium and making sure that the stadium doesn't tower over things, making sure the lighting is beautiful and well done so that it's compatible with the neighborhood, and soft lighting as well, not things that are going to drive people away. Make sure we reduce unnecessary lighting to protect dark skies, turn lights off when they're not needed. Of course, we got feedback on noise concerns and the quality of the sort of acoustic environment, and making sure that there's sort of no beeping zones, car beeping and other sort of noises, because we recognize that there are residential neighborhoods nearby. A lot of folks brought concerns about sea level rise in the design, making sure that there are family-oriented educational elements that could explain the natural terrain and how DC's developed as a natural environment over the years, because we do have some beautiful natural spaces nearby. We did get some specific feedback from the stadium meeting, some talking about the different districts in November, talking about the height, as I mentioned, making sure the architecture is innovative and sustainable, stretching the waste conscious status, not just from the food, but also from how the building is built, and trying to make it as sustainable and resilient as possible. Making sure we have compartmentalized uses, uses that can be used different times of the year, jogging paths, indoor amphitheater, things like that, and making sure that whatever happens, there are community amenities that take into consideration this as a citywide resource, not just something that happens in the neighborhood, but something that people might come to and use who don't necessarily live nearby. I mentioned before the opportunity for retail and business and housing, making sure we have equitable development and BIPOC-owned businesses, and making sure that small businesses have the opportunity for participation. And of course, a great concern, as I mentioned before, on environmental issues about sea level rise, making sure the public environment of the green space along the Potomac River is cared for during construction and afterwards. And we have very clear guidelines for wildlife protection, particularly in the 200-foot wide riparian zone along the Anacostia River. And of course, a lot of comments about public safety, making sure it's a safe place, a place that is safe 365 days a year, and also that it's a place that when there are major events that require some emergency services, that we take that into consideration as well.
So that, is all fantastic, for us in developing our early vision, for DC's new stadium. Gives us a lot of inspiration, and we look forward to hearing more from the survey you all will fill out tonight. When we first look at the site, there's several things that really jump out at us. One is the convergence between, the Civic coming from both sides of the city, and then of course the Anacostia, as it moves through the city. One of the first things we did when we got involved was go down with the Anacostia River Keepers and participate, with them in a boat tour up and down the Anacostia. And so we really understand and feel connected to that convergence. You can't overlook the importance of the L'Enfant plan. This site obviously has a very special location in the city, being on that axis. We also want to focus on near the event experiences. People think a lot about the event actually inside the stadium, but we don't want to forget that there's all kinds of opportunity for events near the stadium and not necessarily in the stadium. And then we do want it to be a community asset 365 days a year. So we're focused on connecting each of those big ideas. When we look at the site itself, we zoom out and we see, the Maryland, Virginia, DC area. And then, we zoom in a little bit closer and we see the formality of the L'Enfant plan. Again, we see the importance of the axis, but the thing that really drives us over here on the right is the ability for this site to really bring people together. It's at a tremendous location to be a unifier, and we really look forward to pulling that together. Again, I've said this several times, but the stadium isn't a special location, place that can connect, throughout the city. It generates a ton of opportunity to communicate strength and power, unique expression, and really throughout the community. And so these are just things that are just jumping out to us as we get more and more involved in the project. And so, through that, we've developed a vision statement. And I'd like to just read a little bit of this to you because it's, something that's near and dear to us. And in the heart of a district defined by its monuments, this stadium will rise as a beacon of unity, passion, and progress, a landmark within a district of monuments. But unlike static icons of the past, it will be a living story shaped by its people, empowered by the spirit of its city, inspired by the legacy of RFK Stadium, where generations came not just to witness greatness, but to feel part of it. This new venue will carry forward that tradition of civic energy and shared experience. It'll be a place where energy of a dream is more tangible, where legends are made, where every seat holds a story waiting to be written. It'll be a global destination, a space that is as welcoming as it is electrifying. And we believe this stadium will become the ultimate stage for greatness, just as RFK Stadium once did, and this new landmark will again. And those are very powerful words, but they're words that are going to guide us through our process. And the thing that, that we start to see that's common as we started on that process is we do see the stadium as a catalyst. We've seen a lot of stadiums. I mentioned, a couple of the ones that we've done, really catalyze neighborhoods and bring neighborhoods together and growth. We see a tremendous opportunity not to just remove RFK Stadium, to really build on the legacy of RFK Stadium. Believe very strongly in that. There's a lot there to pull on. We feel very connected to the nature. We feel like the stadium can be designed in a way that makes it feel like it's embedded in nature. Very unique to DC. This is such a unique site. We take very good care of the site. We believe very holistically in the power of that particular site. We see a very unified bowl with a shared experience where everybody in the bowl feels like they're part of the fan base, where there's not hierarchy, and where everybody feels like they're cheering for the same team. And we see the power of and. The stadium can be football, and it can be for the community. It can be so many different things for so many different people, and that's something that we take very seriously, and we want to make sure that the stadium ultimately is for everybody. When we drive that down to our core design principles, we see a stadium that's born of the district, a community assets that integrated into the community with a place that's uniquely DC. We see a stadium that's inspired by legacy, to honor the legacy and the heritage of the team while embracing the future of the Commanders. And we see a stadium that's created to ignite. That's football first, with no compromises, but with the flexibility to do more. And most importantly, the best home field advantage in the NFL. And so when we start to look at what it means to be born of the district, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It certainly means monuments, but it also means the nature of the area. It means the neighborhoods. It means the water. It means the metro. It means so many things, so many people, and it's going to continue to mean more as we go through this process. We've spent a lot of time in DC over the years, and just look forward to spending more and finding out even more, but really connect to the city. And so what does that mean? That means a new landmark for the district. That means a celebration of culture and community, a stadium that's woven into the district's fabric, and a cultural hub for the district. When we talk about being inspired by a legacy, talk about the championships, the Art Monks and the Daryl Greens. We talk about the confetti falling. We talk about the concerts and all the different events that have happened in RFK. And we get inspired by that. We get inspired when we walk down the halls of the games and we see a Daryl Green walking down the hall. We get super excited about the types of events that we can have in this venue that were never had in DC. A new chapter on historic ground, an architectural presence from all approaches, a stadium that's built to endure, designed to inspire, home to the next generation of Commanders fans. And when we talk about a stadium that's created to ignite, it's building off the energy and the reinvigoration of this franchise and the team and bringing energy to this end of DC. Super exciting for us. We see a lot of different types of events, a lot of different ways to capture that energy and create a stadium that is intended to ignite. That stadium can be the heart of football, but built for Washington, an ultimate home field advantage, a stage for the district and the nation, and a stadium that's built to transform. And most importantly, a unique design for the city and the club, and a stadium that's one of one for Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Okay. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. We would like your feedback through the survey link and the QR code that is shown on the screen now. You can start the survey now or after tonight's meeting. The survey is open until December 24th. And the recording will be made available at ourrfk.dc.gov for those who are not able to attend tonight. This concludes tonight's meeting. Happy holidays and have a great evening.